I'm going to start out here. That photo on the right is AI generated, and it came from an earlier marketing draft. And I said, nope, 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 hold on. Keep that photo. That's perfect. Because 99% about what that photo is awesome. It's giving an incredible visual result for very little AI or very little input that the team had to use, very little prompt engineering. But how many of you noticed that the guy on the left has no chair and three legs? And the guy in the foreground sitting in the chair has no legs, and the woman over on the left has no legs. So there's a lot of things that AI gets right, but there's a lot of tuning that goes in to be able to really get a quality outcome product. And that's part of the journey that we've gone through internally, in that we looked at what could we use AI for to improve our service delivery to our clients? How can we get faster, more efficient, more accurate response within it? And are there tools that we can use to help people navigate the vast knowledge of IT knowledge management that we have to go through in all the service delivery interactions that we have today? I'll get there. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're seeing for AI and change in the environment across the business environment. I'm going to walk through what our thought process was. I'll even show you some examples about where we fell down in our process. So you're welcome to learn from what we've learned along the way. And then we'll round out with some ideas on how within your own teams you can start to quantify or at least brainstorm what might be your next AI initiative. Because to this photo's point, it can do amazing things. It still requires a person in the loop. There's still some quality control elements to it, and it doesn't give you that 100% perfect response every time, but it can get you very close with a lot less effort. And that's really the advantage for what AI is introducing. AI overall is just change. It's just a different type of tool. There's nothing magical about AI. It is a little bit difficult from a comprehension standpoint, because unlike a typical computer program, which we would consider from a technical perspective to be deterministic, if I give the same set of inputs to a computer program, I expect to get the same output reproducibly. The group that I work with to do the AI development for one of our internal initiatives, I was talking to their CTO, and he said one of the hardest things that we do with AI is it's non-deterministic, especially with natural language processing and large language models, which means that if you ask it the same thing 20 times, 90% of the time you're going to get the same answer, but 10% of the time with the same input, something changes inside the process where you're going to get a slightly different answer. That's because language is imprecise, knowledge management is imprecise, expertise is imprecise. The same thing that permits AI to generate a photo, like on the prior page, is the same thing that introduces some complexity if you're trying to get a very specific answer every time. But it also highlights where it can shortcut some complex thought processes and give people a head start to do their work faster or more efficiently. It's not going to replace the people, but it does change the skill set that they need. I mean, way back when, from a skill set standpoint, you can do math longhand on a chalkboard, and it works, but it's slow. So then people came along and said, great, let's come up with a better tool for this. And we got slide rule, and now we can do more efficient, higher density calculations. A little bit less work, but you still have to give it the right inputs, and you still have to verify the outputs. We go another step, and now we've got pocket calculators. Again, if you give it the right input and the right output, it's going to give you answers, but it still relies on the person to leverage the tool. The skill set of someone involved in mathematics is evolving along the way. And today we're operating with Excel, and there are tools beyond Excel as well. And if you think about it, Excel has taken all of those manual calculations that we had to do over and over again. And if you made a change, it would have this ripple impact through all these other things, and it can simplify it into a model and represent it in a way that gives you the output. Of course, Excel follows the rule in that anyone who creates a spreadsheet, no one else will be able to understand the spreadsheet other than the author that created the spreadsheet, and it's perfect for them, and nobody else can understand it without the author explaining it. But that's part of how we're seeing this evolution of tool set, and we're seeing an evolution of skill set. The bar is going up because everybody is looking to see what's next. How can we do these things more efficiently? How can we deliver? Within business, there's really, I would say that there's a short-term vision for what I'm seeing coming up ahead. There's a midterm and there's a long-term. The long-term is really long-term. That's probably still 2 to 5 years down the road. Maybe that's not long-term as far as everything, but I'm thinking for the pace of technology, that's 1 or 2 technology life cycles. In the short term, you're already using AI today. Every time you use Google Maps or use a navigation tool or you do a text to speech or you have something read back the text or take voice dictation and record that back because you want to text somebody back while you're driving, but you don't want to use your hands. You keep your eyes on the road, but you can talk and give your response. You're using AI. In business, we're already seeing AI get integrated into a lot of the products that we're using. One of the products that we use for our accounts payable is Bill.com. And Bill.com purchased another group called Divvy. It's now integrated in, it's called Bill, I think it's Bill Expense. We used to have to do, for our expense reporting, we would have to manually categorize every expense that comes through with what type of expense is it? How should it go into the chart of accounts? Whose budget should this operate under? And Bill recently introduced AI naturally into that process to where now it predicts what those values are based on past behavior. And for 80% of the expenses that we have to report and so forth, we can now just say, I agree with what the system has recommended. And it took what was a 30-second process and a little bit repetitive and a little bit more prone to error and said, great, let's just simplify it. And let's reduce that to a 5 to 10-second process. Still requires a person in the loop. You're going to see more and more of that as AI in the short term. You might have heard of Microsoft Copilot, and I'll talk about that here in just a moment too, where it's not you and your organizations having to do custom development to make these things work. It's that the vendors that are building the tools that are already out there are looking to incorporate AI in natural ways to their existing workflows that increase the value of their product without putting a larger training burden on you. So the challenge with this in the short term is that people don't quite know how to use it effectively or build processes around it. Great, the vendors are innovating on it, but it's hard to get your head around it and say, how do I make it a differentiator for my organization? How do I deliver something stronger to my customers or improve my efficiency with AI? It's a little bit harder. We're in this short-term phase right now. Data privacy and governance concerns are a big deal. There are a lot of tools that are available online right now, everything from ChatGPT to Grammarly and so forth, that sure, they've got data privacy about them, but they also got a low barrier to entry. Any one of your users within your organizations might be going out and using those. And imagine, I've seen this case, imagine that there is a medical professional that wants to use Grammarly to spot check their work. And so they take something that might have patient information and they copy and paste it into Grammarly and say, could you reformat this? Well, Grammarly now has that data. And if you aren't subscribed to a corporate plan with data governance and privacy and controls around it, you've technically just had EPHI go outside of your HIPAA terms. And now in a regulated environment, there's all sorts of other considerations. You could even have a trade secret that goes out and flows out through Grammarly, even in a technical industry or something where you're not in a regulated industry. But you have to be thinking about how do you drive the conversation about AI usage, responsible information security within each one of your environments. That last point is also important. I'll refer back to that first photo. Prompt engineering is a growing interim skill where prompt engineering basically means you've got people that know how to ask a particular AI system the particular type of refined series of questions to get to a more and more accurate result. It's the same way that you've got people that know how to write amazing Excel formulas. It doesn't necessarily come naturally. Most people can add up 2 cells within Excel, but if it's got to go do a lookup and then a pull through, it's much more complex. That's a skill set that's developing for AI called prompt engineering. And it's got a lot of market value right now because it's kind of new and the AI systems rely upon it. We'll see that trend out as AI gets integrated more and more with your regular business operations. In the midterm, this is where I think you're going to see the next value. And this wave, this is probably a 1, 2, or 3 year wave that we're on right now, where you're going to see AI built into your line of business applications, not just your ancillary applications like your accounts payable or your legal contracts management. It's going to be in your ERPs. It's going to be in your BI. It's going to be inside of your transaction processing. It's going to be inside of your CRM systems. And it's going to be daylighting things and trends and exceptions within your environment that otherwise would take somebody a lot of legwork to even know to go look for in the first place. And you're going to see these things come from the products that you're already using. As an example, Microsoft Copilot's actually launching here for all businesses. You've got to be subscribed to Microsoft 365 Business Premium, which is what we'd recommend anyways as a baseline, or you have to be running one of the Microsoft 365 enterprise SKUs like the E3 or the E5 as a prerequisite. But imagine the amount of information that most of you have stored inside Microsoft 365, your email, your calendars, your contacts, your Teams chats, your SharePoint, your OneDrive. Now, Microsoft has built this AI engine that can take all of that data in a secure, private to your organization way and give your users guidance to say, hey, you just received this email. I think you're going to respond this way based on what you saw previously and based on this data. Would you like to just accept this message, or do you want to edit this message? And you can turn things around like that much faster. It doesn't take the human out of the loop. It still requires the right inputs, and it requires the visualization or thinking through what you want it to give you. But that's how we're going to see AI come into the midterm. In the long term, one of the challenges that we've got today with natural language processing and large language models is this thing called session state. AI has a short attention span. If you use ChatGPT, I think it has somewhere between a 1 and a 4 hour session state. A session state means I understand the context that you're asking the present question in based on what you asked within the current session. At some point, you say, I'm going to talk about something brand new. And to the AI, you're starting a brand new session. It's like you left the website and you came back to the website, or you exited the tool and you came back to the tool. In the long term, we're going to see the compute costs and the storage costs for persistent sessions go way down. Persistent session means that you effectively now have an AI expert system that is tailored to a task that can learn for as long as you want it to learn. And it doesn't have to start over from scratch with every new conversation. So you've actually got to the point now where an AI system can learn basic skills, learn basic workflow, learn basic information management, and do these things over and over again. And you can go and manage it, make improvements over time and refinements over time. We've even started playing with some of that, at least the automation and the workflows within what we've been doing with AI internally.